I realize that my topic is a little unorthodox and kind of strange, but I'm just going to go with it. Um, so while I was on my mission, one of my companions commented to me that the reason I didn't get into a more prestigious college is because I grew up watching the show SpongeBob SquarePants. At first, I brushed this insult off and took it with as much humor as I could, but it actually really hurt me deep inside. This was something that I had faced my whole life growing up, were people telling me that watching SpongeBob was rotting my brain, that I wasn't as smart as their kids or I wasn't as smart as them because this is the show that I enjoyed and chose over other television programs. Um, but after assessing who I am and what I did learn from SpongeBob, I can only think of good memories and multiple times that SpongeBob's positive attitude and love of imagination, in turn, um, made me have a more positive outlook on life. My goal of this speech is to debunk the myth that SpongeBob is a crude show that is detrimental to children's minds and is actually a lighthearted program that encourages kids to use their imaginations and face every day like it is the best day ever, as SpongeBob is credited with saying. Growing up, there were two social classes among the children at school: those that watched the show SpongeBob and those that did not. And this division seemed to be heavily prevalent in my friends or those that I knew that were members of our faith, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And I thought this to be very interesting. Um, so among these two social classes, I was part of the group that did watch the show. And when it came to family gatherings, I was reminded by my cousins and my aunts that SpongeBob was rotting my mind, that I would one day regret watching it. As I grew older, this rift between worlds, for some reason, was still alive, and now it seemed to be an intellectual divide. My cousins and friends prided themselves in the fact that they were only allowed to watch shows like Arthur and Sesame Street, Cyber Chase, and Caillou. These shows, they claimed, taught them how to read and count numbers before they even started school. Um, these values, they claimed, are what constituted a good children's cartoon. Other attributes of a successful children's program included an optimistic main character, accepting and loving people for who they truly are and their differences, teaching the importance of friendship, and acknowledging the value in helping children understand how to use their imagination. So I'd like to dive into how SpongeBob SquarePants contains all of these attributes of a good children's show. Upon doing some research, I learned that the average lifespan of an American television show is about 7 to 8 seasons, but the average for a cartoon is about 3 to 4 seasons, so about half of what a live action television show would be. SpongeBob is currently on its 12th season and has an airtime of 20 years. This year is actually SpongeBob's 20th anniversary. So you're probably thinking, well, Sesame Street has been on for 50 years and Arthur has been on just as long as SpongeBob, so that doesn't really mean that it's a good show if it's been on as long as these other programs. Well, that's a valid statement. Um, but unlike SpongeBob, Arthur and Sesame Street are funded by the government. SpongeBob's success can be attributed to the fact that it's a marketplace success. People voluntarily have chosen to watch SpongeBob for 20 years. It has maintained high viewer ratings throughout this whole time. Now, again, you're probably thinking, just because a lot of people watch the show, that doesn't mean it's necessarily good. Yeah, I agree, that is a fallacious statement. However, there are many reasons why people do watch SpongeBob. A full-time employer at the popular eatery, the Krusty Krab, SpongeBob works as a fry cook and gets paid a whole nickel a year. But despite his impoverished lifestyle, SpongeBob greets every day with his famous catchphrase, "I'm ready." It is this pure optimism and hope that has inspired many people across the world to keep working even when things get tough. I've even found myself chanting this phrase on my way to work. Every day, like everyone, SpongeBob is constantly faced with challenges and obstacles. Some of these very obstacles are his friends and even his co-workers, which is very relatable to me. Um, so after he chants his optimistic and encouraging mantra on his way to work every day, he is greeted by his co-worker and neighbor Squidward, a squid that is anything but kind to SpongeBob, who actually looks up to him a lot and considers him one of his best friends. Constantly bullying, belittling, and mocking SpongeBob are Squidward's greatest talents, and if you watch the show, you know that Squidward has no talent, but this is one thing that he's very good at. Even Mr. Krabs, their boss, treats SpongeBob like he's a failure and a child, despite SpongeBob being an adult. In the SpongeBob movie, SpongeBob is even passed up for a promotion because he is seen as naive and childlike. But later in the movie, the plot unfolds and Mr. Krabs' life is in danger, and who comes to save him? It's SpongeBob, even though Mr. Krabs was morally in the wrong for not giving SpongeBob the promotion, even though he is the best worker. This is something that plays throughout the whole show. SpongeBob is constantly bullied by people, they're constantly belittling him, but he always is optimistic and he knows that he is worth much more than what people are saying about him. So growing up, I was heavily bullied because, like SpongeBob, I'm kind of immature and I'm very, very empathetic towards other people like SpongeBob too. And so people saw me as weak. And seeing SpongeBob bounce back all these times after being constantly put down and shamed, I learned that I can bounce back like he does, and I can treat others with kindness. And that's exactly what he does. He always treats people the way that he wants to be treated. So like Sesame Street and Arthur and other children's shows that parents deem worthy for their children to watch, SpongeBob has always upheld the moral to treat others with kindness. Many times as a child, I was also a bad friend or I wasn't loyal to somebody. So I've been on both sides of the situation. I've been a bully and I've been bullied. So lying and spreading rumors were a lesson that I had to learn. Like most kids, I passed judgments on people that weren't like me. And this even happens in an episode of SpongeBob. He's performing a stand-up comedy act, and after realizing that he's not getting any laughs, he starts to make fun of one of his best friends. And he makes fun of who she is, where she's from, and what she looks like. And this proves to be exactly what the audience wanted. Afterwards, his friend confronts him and tells him, that was funny, but that wasn't nice, and I don't appreciate it. And so SpongeBob promises that he's not going to do it anymore. So a few days later, he gives his comedy act with all new material that he wrote, and nobody's laughing. So what does he do? He resorts back to what did get the laughs, and he makes fun of his friend again. This time, it almost cost him one of his most cherished friendships. In this episode, he learns that the feelings of others in friendship is worth so much more than popularity and success. SpongeBob is a very devoted friend, and throughout the series, he devotes a lot of his time to making friendships and keeping friendships. He even sings a whole entire song about what friendship is and what it should be, so that none of us forget how to be a good friend. His best friend is Patrick, and their whole entire friendship is built on a genuine love and support for each other that even requires sacrifices sometimes. Like many students here at BYU Idaho, I have younger siblings that are completely enveloped in their iPhones, their iPods, their computers, and their television. The games and apps that they frequently play on do not provide any sort of creative stimulus. Even the children's television shows that they watch now deal with issues like premature dating, homosexuality, lying to parents to fulfill dishonest and immoral agendas. One thing that has captivated viewers of SpongeBob for so many years is that the plots do not involve anything along these lines. Even Arthur recently aired an episode where a prominent character married someone of the same sex. In this day, shows that do not promote hidden agendas are very hard to find. SpongeBob entertains merely to entertain and to promote comedy. One of my favorite episodes, and one of the most popular in the series, begins with SpongeBob anxiously awaiting the arrival of the mailman. So he comes and he delivers a very large box that contains an extremely expensive flat-screen TV. With sheer excitement and joy, SpongeBob rips open the package and throws the TV just so he can play in the large box. There's a lot of innocence in this scene that I think goes unrecognized. Throughout the episode, he and his best friend Patrick use their imagination to be anything that they want. This particular episode highlights the joys and innocence of youth, a theme that is rarely portrayed by children's shows nowadays. Throughout the entire series, SpongeBob continues to advocate for the importance of exploring nature, using imagination, and finding humor and joy in the little things. On CNN.com, I found an article entitled SpongeBob and the 7 Life Lessons That He Taught a Generation. The main takeaway lessons highlighted in this article are the importance of friendship, honesty, optimism, and not being afraid to be yourself. Looking back, these are just a few of the lessons that I personally learned as a little kid, along with the value of humor and that it's more than okay to have fun while working. Across the internet are a wide range of forums where people share how this seemingly stupid and nonsensical show has been influential in their lives. Personally, this show helped me learn how to tie my shoes, and that is something that I will never forget. Absurd as it is, this show about a nonsensical talking sea sponge has many life lessons that have been taken to heart by millions of people around the world. While SpongeBob may not be ranked among the greatest philosophers and influencers of mankind, he did teach us how to love others even if they are rude to us. Always use your imaginations, that every day is something to be excited about, and that the best time to wear a striped sweater is all the time.